Hello and welcome to episode 300 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDad FF. 300 is just a massive number. I mean, this started, honestly, I was like doing this by myself, just chilling here on episode 1 and be like, somebody want to please listen? Like somebody listen to what I got to say. Now it's grown into a big thing. You know, we got Snoog on. The Discord's absolutely cranking. YouTube's cranking. If you guys don't follow us on YouTube already, guys got to hit that smash subscribe button. Snoog, we're going into February, and you know what that means. It's time to crack open, not just a C4, but a new February Dynasty Buys. It's become one of the things on Twitter that I'm known for is everybody's like, Dad, when are the buys out? It's February 2nd. You didn't release it yet. I'm like, all right, we're going to wait for Monday. And this is one of my favorite times because you and I hit on buys so often. This is what really separates the men from the boys in the offseason and why you and I have been so successful.
I got the goosebumps from that C4 cracking because I know how that gets the blood pumping, but nothing gets the blood pumping like when Dad puts out his Dynasty buy. So he gets me thinking now. I'm texting him, blowing him up, sending him like 15 guys I want to talk about. Good buys, good sells, all that good stuff. But yeah, let's jump into the buys because right now is the best time to take full advantage of buying players in the offseason, especially veterans, because people don't want any of them on their roster. So we're going to kind of break this whole landscape down, dive into the details, the stats, everything that you need to know of what you need to be buying and why. So jump into it. Let's go.
Yeah, and I want to preface this because normally last year we were saying go buy this running back, go buy that running back. That's what's cheap. And now we have knowing how to play Dynasty the right way is knowing what the class is. So last year the running back market was trash. Like every single running back coming out was bad. So we're not saying invest in rookie picks for your running backs. This year, we're slightly on the opposite side. I mean, right now, there's 4 wide receivers I really like. There's 3 or 4 I kind of like. And then there's just everybody else. And when you're going out there and you're going to buy a Rashee Rice or a Marvin Harrison Jr., you got to look at situations. You got to look at, are they going to bring somebody else in? Is this going to increase my value? Is this going to decrease my value? And for me, based on all the team needs, based on what I saw his rookie year, based on what we saw in college, the biggest buy in Dynasty right now has to be Marvin Harrison Jr. Most people bought him with their 102. They paid the 102, and some people have this take lock where they're like, I'm not coming off that. Other people are saying, you know what? He did so poorly for me last year. I want to move on to the next prize, and maybe you can get him for 102 this year, which I've actually seen done on multiple occasions where, guys, if you give me the choice between Tet McMillan and Marvin Harrison Jr., even if Tet goes to Carolina, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. So, I mean, right now, you got to go out and buy him. You're looking at 80-plus receptions, 800-plus yards, and everyone's like, such a horrible season. It really wasn't. Like, this isn't the type of season where we're talking about Quentin Johnston or, Xavier Legette, where you're like, okay, they had like 40 receptions, and they did. He passed every single statistical area that we're going to feel comfortable with, and I'm perfectly fine buying Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. Like, he is a smash if I can get him.
Yeah, when you send me over some of your buys, he was the first guy I thought of because just the way people talk about him on Twitter, consensus guys on YouTube, people treat him like he's just another average Joe. He is elite. He's an elite talent. He can do it all. He can win at all 3 levels. He can run routes. He can win at the catch point. He can make spectacular catches through traffic. He had a little bit of rust and kind of an adjustment learning curve, I think, because I think at Ohio State, it was a lot of like getting him the ball versus like you're going to get the ball when I want to get you the ball type of mentality from Kyler. So I think that just getting the ball consistently helps you build that rhythm, helps you get used to things, kind of build out that flow. And it didn't really happen to him much in the NFL level. So I think it's more he's not getting the ball enough. The offensive scheme isn't getting him the ball enough. And him and Kyler just didn't connect. But like that dude should have had like 14 touchdowns this year. He had so many plays where he was down in the red zone, cooked his guy, like had a step and Kyler didn't put the ball in the right spot, or he dropped the ball. Or like I think he's going to be a guy that goes for like 1,010 plus TDs next year, and everyone instantly starts jumping all over the Marvin Harrison Jr. train again. But look at like CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, some of these other guys as rookies. Like CeeDee Lamb didn't crack 1,000 yards till year 2 or year 3. So it's like, just be patient with these type of guys. He was a 4th overall pick for a reason. Every NFL scout and GM and evaluator thought he was damn near generational and an elite prospect. He just wasn't in the right situation early on and has a little bit of improvement that he needs. But top 10 dynasty wide receiver for me right now. I think he's going to jump back into that top 8 range next year.
Yeah, I love when we do this on YouTube. Guys are asking questions. If you guys get in on your super chats, we're guaranteed to do them. Otherwise, it's just if it fits the show. And this is what's been so awesome about the Patreon is we can answer all those questions in there for $5 a month. On the show, we're trying to go by a script, do the best we can. Like questions here from Brother Leo. Would you offer the 107 and 110 for Marvin Harrison Jr.? I'm smashing that. I have him worth the 102 plus. And I have them worth, 2 first. So you're getting 107 here. Maybe that's Luther Burden, 110, maybe Colston Loveland or another running back. I'm taking Marv here every chance I got. If I'm rebuilding, maybe I take the shot if this is 104 or 5 and 110, Snoog. Because then when you do that, right, when you're rebuilding, I think he's a foundational asset. But I think if you can get, say, you move into an area where you're going to get, let's go with Travis Hunter, or maybe Tet falls into that 4 range, and you make this kind of move and get the 110, then move that to a 26 first. Then you start to win a little bit, but it makes it very, very difficult, And I think, for me, I want Marv over the 2 assets.
Let's pull up some Marv trades. Let's see what we got here. Let's pull up some Marv trades. I think
I love me some Dynasty Data Lab.
I'm already seeing some stuff that.
So if you guys aren't already checking them out, Dynasty Data Lab does some of the best work out there. But let's break down the first one because I kind of like it. Brian Thomas Jr. or Marv in a third. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. was the wide receiver 4 in this class. Now he's arguably the wide receiver 2. If you can get Marv in a second, I think I take.
That's
Marv.
what I'm thinking. Yeah,
I'm
thinking
a third
BTJ here, but Marv in a second's enough where I'm like, they're the same. I think Marv is the same talent, if not maybe a little bit better, more complete of a player. I think BTJ just has such a better situation with T-Law versus Kyler and the new head coaching staff in Jacksonville, and they suck, so they're always playing from behind. But I'd need a second to do that. But that's pretty good trade.
Marvin Harrison Jr. or Waddle and Kamara. As much as I love Alvin Kamara, and you do too, that's Marv all day, baby.
I'm taking Marv all day.
That's how you do that. Is you take a wide receiver that you're not big on. Waddle's one of my biggest sells. You add in Kamara, you get yourself up to Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. And this is another one I really like. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. for Chris Olave, Ben Sinnott, and Josh Downs. That's taken a guy that we've seen 2 years of mediocre play. He's been solid, but not great. And you add in a couple upside pieces and you get Marvin Harrison Jr. Like that is an absolute massive smash. That's you can't write it up any better than that. I'm looking at so many of these trades and I'm like, this is too cheap. Like this is crazy cheap on most of these. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jordan Addison, a third and a second. There should be a first difference between the 2 of these guys right now.
Big time. Yeah, that's another cowbell trade right there. The one below, it's even bigger of a cowbell trade. I mean, just looking at these trades is telling me like people are too low on Marvin Harrison Jr. after honestly a really good rookie year. Like look what JSN did, and then look at JSN's year 2. Like he literally, Marvin Harrison Jr. literally had an Addison rookie year, like 10 touchdowns, 800 plus yards type player. Like, so that's crazy to me.
Almost every single one of these, I'm on the Marv side. I mean, I think Marv in a 25 second for Nico, I think that's a perfect trade. Marv Otten in a second for CeeDee Lamb. That one's CeeDee Lamb, though. Like that's the first one where I'm literally looking at that. So
Marv a first and a second for Nico and Tracy. These are all the only one I'd probably take Stroud here, but I think you could argue Marv in like a 4-point. I don't know. I think it's super flex, I would say, but 4-point passing. Yeah, you could argue that. So Marv for Brees in third. Yeah, a lot of these are pretty on par with market value, but I love a lot of these to go get Marv.
Trevor Porter has on here a super chat. Guys, we're doing a thing right now. If we get 5 super chats during this show, we will give out a full year of Smash Accept Patreon to one of those 5 people. That is, we're going to do it all the way up at our all access pass. That's $20 a month. That's a $240 prize if we get to 5 people. So then we'll put it on a spinning wheel on our next show and try to put ourselves into the position there to get you guys in there. We got a trade question here. It says sell Ramondre for an early 26 second. Current running backs are, and this is 10 team, start 9.5 PPR, CMC, Brees, Bucky, Aaron Jones, Mason, and probably another running back at 106. Snoog, Ramondre Stevenson or a potential early 2026 second?
I'm taking the second. I'm completely
smashing
off
that.
like all those ambiguous type running backs right now because I think this landscape. I mean, just doing the grading process in our rookie draft guide that we can hint on, talk a little bit about at the end of this show. But I had I had a smash RB prospect in Nash and Junty, 4 workhorse prospects in Travion Henderson, Quinshad Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Amari and Hampton, 2 starter pluses in Devin Neal and Cam Scatterbo, 2 other starters, and then I had a bunch of committee plus type prospect. This class is going to destroy the running back landscape for all those Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevensons, Tony Pollards, Tyrone Tracy. So get those guys off your roster now. Even Chase Brown's, like, get those guys off your roster. Go get firsts.
The early 26 second is what Ram would have been worth after 2 or 3 good games last year. Now we're into a new scenario here where Ramondre Stevenson is, in my opinion, at least 75% here, Trevor, going to be replaced as a relegated to a 1B. They're going to bring somebody in, and he'll be a nice, solid 1B, but I don't think you're going to get what you were expecting. He was a high volume, high target, and now I think they bring in another running back, and now he's just a big sell for me. We're going to talk about this throughout the show, but pretty much any running back we can get into, it's a matter of like, is this guy going to get replaced? Outside the big 5, you're going to see competition. Like the Jets aren't going to draft somebody because they did last year, and the Rams aren't going to. And a lot of people have been harassing me, Snoog, saying, well, you say Blake Corum's a decent buy. So is Trey Benson. So is, who's the guy that I'm just guys in that area. If they drafted a running back last year in the 2nd, they're not taking another one. Like you don't need Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and like they might take a guy in the 4th or 5th round, but some of these other positions, I mean, let's be honest, the Browns are going to bring somebody in. The Raiders are going to bring somebody in. Chargers, they're all going to bring somebody in. That's why you and I are buying wide receivers, this next level thought process. And one who's gone down in value surprisingly again is Xavier Worthy, has come out and played really well down the stretch, which has created a buying window for Rashee Rice.
There it is.
I think next year we're looking at Patrick Mahomes playing like he is right now in the playoffs. You and I were a year early on that, I think. But I think Xavier Worthy as a complementary piece to Rashee Rice, I think we're going to continue to see Travis Kelce back down. But Rashee Rice's value seems to be dipping, and I don't understand it. Like if I can get him for what I'm seeing right now, I saw a guy message me in the Discord. He paid the 108 and a 26 second. I'll smash that. Like what he did during the stretch of last season, going into 2023, into 2024, he had an elite level 10-game stretch. I mean, he was phenomenal. And people forget how really good Rashee Rice was. I mean, you saw him this past year for 3 weeks. He had 9 targets, 6 targets, 14 targets, wide receiver 1 in 2 of those weeks. And then you go into the end of 2023, same kind of thing. After the bye week, you saw him wide receiver 3, 22, 12, 7, 14. He was an elite level, high target guy that, we talk about in this class. We see some of these guys have shades of Michael Thomas. Rashee Rice is a slant king. He's someone in this offense. He's not going to get suspended more than 6 games, period. So you're going to have him. I think Rashee Rice is a perfect buy right now in Dynasty. And Shake agrees. He said, I have Rice, been offered the 110 Coleman and Luke McCaffrey. I'm sorry. Like, if it's not the 104, I'm not even considering it. This is that trade where you take the 110, you polish up a couple turd sandwiches and Keon Coleman and Luke McCaffrey, and you just say, hey, look, it looks nice. It doesn't. It's Rashee Rice. Yeah. You smash Rashee Rice wherever you can.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, he's a guy, he was operating as that like Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Chiefs. So he's that guy that's going to eat underneath. Xavier Worthy is going to be that field stretcher, that dynamic playmaker. They're going to be a great 1-2 combo long term. I'm not super worried about the suspension issue because honestly, it's just more recovery time for him coming off that ACL tear. But let's pull up some Rashee Rice trades because there's a couple of them on here that are like, holy crap, like we need to go buy Rashee Rice now. Like the first one, Zach Ertz for Rashee Rice. That's vetoable. That's ridiculous. That's got to be a typo, but I really like that one. Like a 27 1 and 2 pair for Rice. Like I would pay that for Rice.
Our guy Connor, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Omrine from the Discord, awesome guy. I believe he's in one of our going to be in Smash Except 17 if I'm right, which we just filled today. He says, "Are you worried about Rashee Rice's knees?" We're not just saying it's just the suspension. we're coming off that injury. Snoog, is that something you're worried about here?
A little bit. I'm not super worried about it, but I definitely am not excited when someone tears their ACL. So it's one of those things where I look at it, I get a buy window. I'm paying about half price on a player's value and upside and ceiling. The injury cost is already baked in. So if he didn't have a torn ACL, you'd be playing 2 firsts for him right now, and he'd be probably a top 10 wide receiver in Dynasty. So that's where you kind of have to just weigh out your marbles and just say, okay, I got this guy cheaper, injury concerned, yes, but I'm not worried. I'm chasing upside.
Yeah, you got to look. I mean, his recovery time right now, you're looking at the injury happened on September 29th, 2024. October 7th, he had the surgery. Sometimes you see guys wait for like 3 weeks. Good sign is he had it next week. December 10th, Rice is expected to be ready to play in week 1 of 2025. So at this point, like the recovery timeline, everything we're looking at, he should be ready to go for week 1. And when that happens, I'll get back to you. When that happens, that's something that's absolutely going to be extreme value because Snoog, if Rashee Rice doesn't get hurt, okay, and let's say he just continues on the stretch that he was on pace to be the wide receiver 5. He is arguably in the tier with Neighbors, Nico. Like, honestly, that's where he would end up being is like, he would be up there with BTJ. He would be up there with Nico Collins. He'd be above Garrett Wilson because you'd be looking at 2 straight seasons,
I don't think he's as talented as those guys. I just think he's a very system-oriented player. I'd still have him outside of that tier. He'd probably be like right with London and Garrett for me and like that 9, 10, 11, like Marv. But I don't know. It's tough with him because it's like he was doing really freaking good. And especially with Travis Kelce, if he retires, like it's even more Rashee Rice bullish for me. So pull up some trades. Let's look at the trades and see how much we really should be buying Rashee Rice right now. Because like the first few,
ignore the Zach Ertz one. That's just wild. Like that person.
Let's play a game. You ask me the trade, I'll say smash or pass for Rashee Rice.
Rice, Khalil Shakir, mid-first, mid-second.
Smash Rice.
Waddle and a 26 first or Rice and a 26 second?
I'm going to take Waddle there. I'd take Waddle there. I like that, just getting the first on top of Waddle. I think Waddle is a great buy low right now, especially if Tyreek Hill leaves. Like, you're going to see a guy that's force-fed volume again. So I think he's a great buy.
Tricky part on Dynasty Data Lab is we don't always know where the projections always are. Rashee Rice. Hold on a second. Rashee Rice in a third or Olave and Kincaid?
I'd take Rashee Rice there.
I would too.
Comfortably. Yep. The Rashad White and Brian Robinson for Rashee Rice one's ridiculous. I'd smash the Rashee Rice side there too. Right.
Devonta Smith, Jawan Jennings in a second or Rashee Rice?
I was just looking at that. I would take Rashee Rice there.
I would too. I think if Jennings was someone a little bit higher up, I'd consider that, But I think what you're looking at is Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are both low-key buys, but I think Xavier Worthy's play down the stretch make people wonder, who's going to be the guy. And for me, I don't think it's a question. It's Rashee Rice, but Xavier Worthy's still going to keep doing Xavier Worthy type things.
Worthy's a stud, man. Like he really, for a lot of the hate he was getting on like Twitter and YouTube and a lot of the fantasy analysts saying he can't be that guy, he was that guy for like multiple weeks, especially when it mattered the most. So I'm excited that he really turned things around because he's really good. Like if Mahomes like connected on some of those deep balls, he probably would have put up like 900 yards and like 10 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns. I said he was going to have an Jordan Addison type rookie year. He literally like did very similar, 9 touchdowns, like 800 total yards, that type of player. So
the next one
who's
for
the
me,
next guy? Yeah.
It's DJ Moore. You could also throw Rome Odunze in here, but Ben Johnson coming in, Keenan Allen possibly leaving. You look at what he was able to do, and a lot of us are really criticizing Caleb Williams way too early. But you look at from weeks 12 on, DJ Moore and Caleb Williams had a fantastic connection. Every single week he had over 7 targets. Every single week he had over 6 receptions. Every single week he had over 50 yards. I mean, you look at it, wide receiver 4, 7. Then a couple in the 30s, wide receiver 6 to finish it off on a bad offense. Now we get a good offensive, schemed head coach. We get a situation where Caleb starts to, progress a little bit further. We now have Eric Bieniemy as the running back coach. And I think what we're going to see from the Bears is them take an offensive tackle to solidify the line in the first round, get a running back in the second or third round, and I think this Bears offense is exciting again. And I'm more interested right now. I've come around on Rome Odunze. I think now that we look at, the dust has settled, I was down on Rome Odunze because the value was baked in as if they got a new coach, and then they go get Ben Johnson. That was the elite coach. That was the guy that everybody wanted them to get. And now I'm buying both of them. Right now, Moore goes, he's still going at like the 109, 110 for trade value, where Rome Odunze is all the way up at 105, 106. So I'm taking Moore because we've seen the production. We've seen what he has. But I want to talk about some of these trades you see. I mean, DJ Moore and Xavier Worthy straight up. This is close.
DJ Moore. Take DJ Moore.
I think I'm taking DJ Moore too. You know what I mean? I was originally thinking only if I'm contending. We got DJ Moore in a third or Devonta Smith.
DJ Moore.
I think people don't pay enough attention to DJ Moore. Like what he's done over the last couple of years. He's been fringe wide receiver one back to back to back seasons. And now this could be the apex.
We saw the upside too. Back 2 years ago, he put up 1,300 plus yards and 8 touchdowns. And this past year, with a horrible offense with multiple different coaches and no set scheme and a rookie QB, he put up close to 1,006 touchdowns. So 98 receptions. Like he's going to be. He doesn't play completely like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he's that explosive yak player that can win in the slant game and win downfield that Ben Johnson's going to have a field day with. Like you saw what he did dialed up with Jameson Williams. You're going to see a lot of that with DJ Moore downfield. You're going to see a lot of designed screen passes to DJ Moore. I think the whole Bears offense takes a huge stick, but mainly Caleb, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze are the three guys I'm focusing on. I think Keenan Allen gets phased out. I don't even think Keenan Allen plays with the Bears next year. I think he gets traded or cut or something. But I think that DJ Moore, he's going to be that guy, like you said. Right now, I think he's definitely in my top 20 dynasty wide receiver rankings. Still just 26, 27 years old. I mean, he's going to be a very, very good fantasy asset the next year or two, in my opinion. So.
Let's talk about the guys that are in that similar tier or slightly above. Smash or pass. I'm going to say a player. You say smash if you want more. You say pass if you want the player. You ready?
Okay.
George Pickens.
Pass or smash more.
Zay Flowers.
Smash more.
Rome.
Smash more. Slightly.
Ooh, okay.
They're back to back for me, but I would lean more slightly just because of the floor.
T. Higgins.
Pass. Give me T. Higgins.
Pass. So so right now that would put him at wide receiver 17. If you were going that area. And I think that's right. But most sites, when you go through and you start to look through where's DJ Moore, most have him as wide receiver 24 to 27. They have him more in that area of Jalen Waddle, maybe Tyreek Hill. And I think DJ Moore, you're going to see tremendous return on your investment if you can go out there and buy him. Another guy you're going to see great return of investment is you're getting an injury discount on an elite level wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is now valued outside the top 10. You could get him for 111, 112 in a lot of your leagues. You can get him for an early second plus. And Brandon Ayuk, this past year, everybody's going to say, what have you done for me lately? It was not the best season for him. Let's just put it that way. But he got injured early. You look at what he did. He only played 6 weeks this week, only 5 this year. 5 of them were healthy. 4 of them, he was a little bit, we had that trade rumor. We had all these talks of, is Ayuk going to be the guy? Is he going to be there in training camp? Week 1, only 60% snaps. Then when we see him in week 5, he got up to over 90% for the first time all year, and he was a wide receiver 1. He was the wide receiver 10. Brandon Ayuk is a phenomenal wide receiver. He's a great, route runner. He's someone that, you look at reception perception. He's someone that really stands out. And the year before, he excelled. He was a dynasty wide receiver 1. Can he be that again, Snoog?
Yeah, I don't think he'll get back into that top 10 to 12 range like he was in, but I think he's going to be a top 20 guy when he gets back and it's all said and done. He's a guy that elite route runner. He put up the production back-to-back years with over 1,000 plus yards. He had that big breakout season in 2023 with 1,300 plus yards. The issue with him was always target volume. He was never his most targeted season was 114 in his NFL career. That's not good. So I know he's playing alongside Debo, Kittle, CMC.
Do you think they all stay?
I think Debo's washed. I think Kittle stays. I think CMC bounces back. I think Ayuk is a good buy because of the injury discount, but I don't think he's as good as everybody thinks he is. So it's one of those things that I see the way I'm thinking and the way I think you're picturing this is you buy him now. He has a couple big games and everyone thinks he's back to a top 12 wide receiver. And then you flip him plus for AJ Brown or you flip him for Garrett Wilson type receivers. So that's kind of what you're hoping for here. But at the end of the day, he's still on an offense where it's elite. They're going to put up a ridiculous amount of numbers, and he's in an offense that they utilize him in the slot and downfield. So,
No, my thought process is I'm looking at some of these trades like Kyle Pitts and Jalen McMillan for Brandon Ayuk, or I'm seeing
like that's a smash. Like
Brandon Ayuk and 2/3 for the 111. Like that's a smash. You know what I mean? You look at some of these where a pair of 25 seconds for Brandon Ayuk. As long as this isn't 201 and 202, you're losing. So the problem isn't it's not that I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be a top 10 wide receiver again. I just think he's going to be someone that is going to recoup value. Everybody said the same when I posted that I'm buying Stephon Diggs. It's only because he's not worth anything right now. Like Brandon Ayuk and Tyrone Tracy or Olave, Lockett, and Michael Mayer. Huh? Wait, what? You know, like these are the kind of things where you really just kind of jump out there and you see these trades where you're like, I got to buy in. Speaking of the same exact scenario, you know, Trevor Porter put in there again. He goes, what's CMC worth in this year's rookie draft value? Snoog, in the Patreon right now, I have him worth the 109. I think right now, comfortably, I'd pay the 109. I could see when we all get in there and we start to look at things, we might go ahead and just put ourselves into a scenario where he's worth up to the 107 by the time it's all said and done. Trevor's corner in the market here. He wants that prize. He went ahead and he got 4 out of the 5 shots.
He added another one up there too. He said, click on that one. It's
let's get this one, then we'll do the next one. So for me, I think you say that, like, would you rather have Luther Burden or Christian McCaffrey? You know, like that's where you're at.
Yeah, I'd probably just take McCaffrey there.
Yeah,
it's a risk. It's a high risk, high reward upside. Like you get McCaffrey and you add him to a team that's already really good, he can help you win the championship. Like he has that type of impact. I don't know. I think he's had plenty of time to rest it up and get things figured out to at least come back and be like he's one of those players that even when he's like washed, he'll still be like such a good receiving back and like change of pace guy. I really think we're going to see more Jordan Mason, or they're going to bring in a guy on like day 2 or day 3 that's like a pounder between the tackles and kind of operate like as a 1-2 punch with CMC. That's what they should do. But they just gave him a 2-year contract extension. So it's like,
this San Francisco team is all buys. Right now, market value, I'm seeing Brock Purdy worth the 105. Give me Purdy. I'm seeing Kittle at the 108 to 110. Give me Kittle. I'm seeing Ayuk 111, 112. I'm seeing McCaffrey 107, 108. The only thing I would say is I think Purcell's value is maybe a little high at like 201. And that's just assuming one of these wide receivers leave. But I like him a lot. I have him as a buy. You know, I think San Francisco as a whole should bounce back. They should have a fantastic season. The other guy that I have as a buy is Garrett Wilson. Okay, we said we were at a spot where we're going to sell Garrett Wilson. Snoog, I'm back. You got me. The fact that he wants a trade. He could get out of the Jets. He could leave this situation. Would you add anything to Garrett Wilson to get to Puka in a start 9, 3 wide receivers? Seems like both have questionable QBs. I'm still adding an early second to get to Puka right now. But I think see a trade.
If it's a first, no, I'm not doing it.
No, but an early second, I would definitely do it. Garrett Wilson right now could be a big-time buy. I have him in my top 10 wide receiver buys to go out there and get. What's a landing spot you'd want to see him go to? You know, because there's a lot of wide receiver needy teams. I mean, the Jets are obviously one of them, but they're in quarterback L right now. Like they're in abs. They're not going to trade him to the Patriots, so let's not even bother going there. We love that.
I was going to say them.
I know, but like that's. I was thinking that was my first thing. It's like, dude, get him to the Patriots.
I could see Carolina. I could see Carolina. I could see the Raiders. I could see the Bills and the Pats, but they're in division. They're not going to do that. I could see. Who was I just thinking? I just had one in mind. Oh, the Dolphins if Tyreek Hill leaves.
Dolphins. I was thinking that too.
Yep.
You know,
I could see.
Number 2
I could see like the Saints doing it. Like I could see a team like that doing it, where he's like comes in like There's a lot of teams that could trade for him, honestly. And it's probably going to be a team we're not expecting. That's how it always works. Titans, Browns, Giants,
Chargers.
So many teams that could use, Chargers. And any of these landing spots are better than the friggin' Jets. Any of them. I don't care if he goes and plays with the Texans, he's like playing behind Nico, or he goes and plays with like a team like where he doesn't really have a quarterback and he's like a 1A, 1B type. Like any of them are better than the Jets. Like the biggest thing that'll kill a player's value is a poor coaching staff, no quarterback, no long-term quarterback value or situation, and no scheme on offense. Like they literally had like no offensive coordinator last year. So it's like people don't get what he's done with that team. 3 straight seasons with 1,000+ yards and 80+ receptions, and 3 seasons over 140+ targets. This kid is special what he's doing over there. And he's had so many opportunities where he could have been just absolutely elite and a top 5 finisher, but he's had so many different quarterback changes. And last year, thinking it's Rodgers goes down week 1, and then it's back to Wilson and Trevor Siemian and all these. Like people try to compare like his situation to Neighbors, Drake London. Like, none of those guys had a situation that bad. I don't care. Like you could say, oh, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones. Okay, he had Brian Dabble in an offensive scheme that actually worked and force-fed him the ball. Like none of the situations are as bad as the friggin' Jets. Like they are the worst franchise ever. Yeah, they're terrible. Like it's that simple.
Right now, he's at the bottom of the tier of Nico, JSN, Ladd, London, AJ Brown. But I think if you see him go to
he's above Ladd. I'll take him over Ladd all day.
Not in most rankings. You know,
I know, but I would take him over Ladd.
But I think he's a buy there, and I think the play is, because we have a great wide receiver 8 to 16. Nico, JSN, Ladd, Wilson, London, Brown, Marv, Rice, Higgins, and then it falls off hard. And then I get to these guys that, Snoog, we're going to pull up the trades here in a minute, but they're the guys I want to trade. I want to trade Pickens, Flowers, Addison, Devonta, Olave,
Jameson Williams,
Waddle, J-Mo. Like I want to move those guys because I want to get out of that mediocre tier. I want to get out of those guys. And then it falls off crazy hard. Like 33 down, that wide receiver position dies off hard. And we have a very limited amount. This is why wide receivers belong early in your startups. If you guys didn't check out our startup episode, 14 wide receivers are going in the top 3 rounds right now. You want to smash them early. Snoog, pick up a couple of those trades. Let's flip-flop scenarios here. You tell me, if we're going to smash the trade or not.
Okay. Garrett Wilson or a random 25 first?
Garrett Wilson. It has to be the 103 for me to even consider.
Garrett Wilson in the 26 first or Bijan Robinson? Random.
PPR. If it's late, it's Bijan. If it's mid, it's Garrett. If it's early, you absolutely smash Garrett there. But I think context is going to matter a lot on that one. I do have – it's at least like 107's the gap between Garrett Wilson and Bijan right now.
I feel like these are comfortable, like Keon in a first or Garrett or a first and a second, Garrett or Garrett and Chuba or 2 first. Like those are the type of trades like Garrett or Tracy in a first and JJ Sanders. Like I think those are trades you could really honestly get done pretty easily in your leagues, especially with people that just want picks and want to get off players. Garrett in a second for Rice in a first, Garrett for Penix in a second. Like Penix, all these like Tyrone Tracy, these Penixes, all these type of guys, get them off your freaking team. Like these are guys that are being inflated in dynasty value just because people want to act like they're good. They're not good. Like they're going to get replaced. Michael Penix Jr. literally has a duck for an arm, mediocre inaccuracy, 0 rushing upside, game manager. You're paying a first plus for a game manager. At that point, just go get Tua or go get Trevor Lawrence and get a guy that's already good with a contract. Like that's how I look at that type of player. But yeah, Garrett Wilson looks like a clear-cut buy just based off those trades on Dynasty Data Lab.
Yeah, and I want to. We've gotten so deep into the wide receivers. I want to continue to really dive into them because I think we're really onto something here. Another guy that you and I both love. I love AJ Brown because I think AJ Brown's going to get traded, and that's why I also love Devonta Smith. I don't think both Eagles wide receivers are back in 2025. This is the T. Higgins scenario we had last year, right? Where if T. Higgins comes back to the Bengals, because there was rumor, right? There was rumor that T. Higgins was going to be moved. At worst, you have 2 wide receivers on an elite offense. At best, you're going to see A.J. Brown go to the Patriots and become an absolute alpha and see 150 plus targets. Like this is what you're going to see. And Devonta Smith is back. He's either a complimentary wide receiver 2 that you can flex. But if A.J. Brown leaves, Devonta Smith has top 12 to 15 upside easily. Like he is an absolute alpha wide receiver. The only way I could see that them trading Brown is if they get an early second and get a secondary wide receiver to replace A.J. Brown with. We saw how well that worked for Tennessee, right? I don't think it worked out too well. But
yep.
A.J. Brown, some of these A.J. Brown trades just are bad. Like A.J. Brown and Chase Brown for Amon-Ra St. Brown, basically. I would take an A.J. Brown there.
I would take AJB and then I'd flip Chase Brown for a first and a second. That's how I would do that.
T. Higgins, B-Rob, and 2 threes, or Kraft and A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown and Higgins are fairly close, but give me Kraft over the other two by far.
Judy and a first for AJB, like that's another smash. Yeah,
it's A.J. Brown and a first for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like that's a big gap. A.J. Brown for Rashid Shaheed, Jalen McMillan, a second and a third. That guy should be locked up for that guy. That's criminal. Like
look at this Cooper Kupp and a first for AJB. That's another smash. This one, Devonta Smith and 2 firsts for AJ Brown. I'm taking Smith all day there, but yeah, it looks like people want him off their team. Like people see him doing all this stuff on the sideline, and people think he had a bad year this year. He had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in 12.5 games. That's ridiculous. Like that. He had back-to-back 1,450-plus yard seasons in 2022 and 2023 with the Eagles, with Jalen Hurts and with Devonta Smith. He had 11 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, and 7 touchdowns this year. He paced out to 1,300-plus yards, 80-plus receptions, and 10-plus touchdowns this year. That is an elite dynasty wide receiver 1, and you can get him outside the top 10. That's a no-brainer move because he still, I will stand on this, has top 3 wide receiver upside any given year. That's the type of player he is. That's the type of upside he has. So buy into that type of upside.
Snoog, if I asked you about A.J. Brown, how many weeks do you think he had over 9 targets?
4.
3. Guess where he finished all 3 of those? Inside the top 8. Like he had a wide, every week he had a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 8, wide receiver 8. If you give him the targets, he's going to be there. It's criminal that he had multiple games. He had 5 games of 5 targets, not receptions, targets or less. And A.J. Brown is a volume guy. If you put him into the scenario volume-wise of what we saw from some of these other big-time wide receivers, if you replace him with Amon-Ra St. Brown's usage, he would be the wide receiver 1 overall in Dynasty, or at least top 3. And I think that's where you're at. Devonta Smith on the flip side. Am I crazy for saying I'm buying Devonta Smith? Because I am seeing people sell Devonta Smith way too cheap. Like he's going to be someone that finishes top 24 every single year. I think he has upside to finish top 15 when the Eagles offense is right. Like Saquon came in and changed the game. But the year before that, you had 2 guys inside the top 24. This year, he's had 5 wide receiver 1 weeks, 4 wide receiver 2 weeks, and then a couple that were just absolute duds because I think he was playing through some injury.
Yeah, he's another one. He missed 4 games this year, and he had 880 yards and 8 touchdowns on 70 receptions. Another one paced out to probably about 1,100 to 1,200 yards, 10-plus TDs, and 80-plus receptions. This Philly offense isn't bad for Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Saquon had the best running back season ever. That he could have broken the record. They didn't let him, but he could have. And they still finished as strong wide receiver 2s, and AJB was paced out to be a wide receiver 1. Like, with Saquon doing that, with Jalen Hurts kind of having a little bit of like a down year, as people would say, as a passer and in volume, Kellen Moore is gone. They're gonna go out there. They're probably gonna have to get a new offensive coordinator. It could be for the better. It could be someone with a dynamic mind that wants to get the ball in the hands of Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. But this offense, we know what the floor is. They're too good to not put up fantasy points. It's not like one of those things where Drake London isn't getting volume, so he's not good. Like these guys are good. Like they're very good. They get points no matter what. Doesn't matter if they're run heavy. Doesn't matter if Jalen Hurts is injured. These guys produce. So that's what you need to understand with the Eagle pair. Because if one of them leaves, the other one's top 5. Like that simple. Like if A.J. Brown leaves, Devonta Smith's the top 10 wide receiver. If Devonta Smith leaves, A.J. Brown's the top 5 wide receiver again. So That's how you got to treat this landscape. It's honestly really easy to navigate a deep landscape like this because you have so many injury discounts and players that had a little bit of an underperforming season or didn't live up to the hype because of this. And then you can buy into those players and then they bounce back next year. And this is how you got to play that cycle, especially when the landscape gets deep. Right now with the running backs, it's about to get really deep in the next 2 to 3 years. So we're selling all the ham and egger running backs, the Chase Browns, your Rashad Whites, your Brian Robinsons, these replaceable type guys that are just getting fed volume. You buy into these elite young picks that are going to turn into dynasty RB1s potentially. This is how you got to do it. You get stuck with these type of guys. Everyone last year, I was telling you to sell Rashad White. You kept them. Look what happened. Same things happens with all these type of players, like these Brian Robinsons, anyone that gains value. If they're not that good, Tyrone Tracy, some of these guys, sell them. Just get picks back. If you can get a first, there's a good chance you could turn that first into a much better player, or you could just trade that first for somebody. So that's how you got to navigate it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people look at the landscape and they're like, they don't pay attention. They start to look at age, say, oh, well, A.J. Brown is going to be 28 years old. DK Metcalf's going to be 28. Devonta Smith's going to be 27. T. Higgins is going to be 27. Same with Jalen Waddle. And a lot of those guys, we're looking at guys that are in wide receiver rooms that are crowded. But I'm seeing a lot of rumor about Tyreek Hill getting traded. A lot of rumor about, T. Higgins potentially walking and going to the Patriots. I see rumor of DK Metcalf getting traded to the Chargers. And these kind of situations, if you hit on them and you pay attention to some of the news, you're buying DK Metcalf's value right now, Snoog, I saw, is at 109. DK Metcalf is still a stud. You get him into another offense where he's the number one and they want to utilize him, because I don't think Seattle took enough deep shots with him. I don't think they really utilized him in the last year and a half. He is a guy that you can get dirt cheap. I mean, if you got to go to 110 or him and you're like, let me see, do I want to kind of reach on, maybe Matthew Golden or, put myself up there, try to get a Trey Harris, or do I want DK Metcalf? I'm going to take Metcalf. Like we're talking about, you want wide receivers that are going to give you a safe floor and elite ceiling. And this year's class, you buy as many dang running backs as you can just to try to see the value of these guys skyrocket. And Metcalf and T. Higgins are those guys, like Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. Like I go back and forth with Waddle because it's, I hate the fact that he's been wide receiver one just 3 times in the last 2 years. But the rest of these guys, they're all in that age bracket, 26 to 28. Pillars of your dynasty team that are going to help you win.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And this is a deep wide receiver landscape. So we're just trying to help you kind of navigate it and understand like why we're buying these specific players and kind of the upside. I love the DK Metcalf ad there at the end because Clint Kubiak's their OC now. He's the guy that came in, opened everything up, took a ton of shots downfield to Rashid Shaheed, and Chris Olave was kind of like that, the underneath guy and across the middle. So I think JSN and DK Metcalf are literally Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave on steroids. Like Clint Kubiak is going to have an absolute ball, and he's a guy that pounds the football, gets the play action going, and takes deep shots downfield. He has the perfect rhythm and system for that. Speaking of that, let's jump into the running backs. Let's talk about some running backs here because Kenneth Walker.
Hold on. We're at a spot we hit 43 minutes straight up on wide receivers. I think we gave them so much in there. I think we do a running back show right after this and kind of keep it going because people want the buys. They want to know, like, how do I distinguish who's who? How do I go ahead and buy that? Guys, we have all these buys. We have all these values that we've talked about in the Smash Accept Patreon Discord. You pay on Patreon, we'll send you the link to the Discord. Snoog has all the, honestly, amazing looking rookie profiles that he's put together. Like I have my rankings. He's taking it to another level. Snoog, why don't you tell them a little bit about what they get if they join the VIP tier to get to your rookie rankings?
Yeah. Before we do that, I just want to say we're going to give you 2 to 3 sleeper buys, quick hitters right at the end, right after this, just to transition over into the running backs. But yeah, make sure you check out the Discord and get in there. The VIP tiers, I built out a whole 50 plus rookie prospect draft profiles with all analytics, statistics, kind of player comps, kind of what they grade out as prospects. We have our running back tiers and our wide receiver tiers and quarterback tiers, tight end tiers, kind of putting them into buckets like the smash tier, elite tier, workhorse tier, starter tier, all that's in there. So we kind of graded out all these prospects, projected landing spots, projected NFL grade, top 10, first round, early second round, day 2, all that good stuff. We did that for 50 plus players, especially hit heavy on the running backs over 20 deep. just diving in, helping you guys out. And as we get throughout the process, we're going to update them post-combine, post-NFL draft. Once we get NFL draft capital, we're going to adjust that, put in draft capital, put in rookie pick projections and all that good stuff into each profile as well. So that's what we're doing over there. $5 one-time buy if you're a VIP member. If you're any other member, you can join the Discord for $5 a month, and you can get the rookie draft profiles and the whole entire guide for one-time buy of $20. So that's what we're doing right now over there. Took tons of time, but it looks really good right now. We're working on getting it built out as a PDF with all Smash branding and all that good stuff. So lots of fun there, but quick fire off. Dad, give me 2 guys that you're buying outside the top 30. Give us some deeper kind of guys that you like.
Yeah. So the way I was looking at it, and I want to do an entire show on the veterans, because the veterans are crazy value. But if I'm buying young guys and guys that are outside the top 30, it really depends on what you're looking at projection wise. If I'm looking to contend, the guy that I'm buying everywhere because his value just doesn't make sense is Khalil Shakir. I think Khalil Shakir is someone that, right now a lot of people have outside their top 40 dynasty wide receivers, but he's been a great yard after the catch guy, great system. I think you look at Jerry Jeudy right now is falling outside the top 30, and Jerry Jeudy, when he had Jameis Winston, put up flashy numbers. If they get someone else in there, I think we're starting to see him really come out of his shell. One last guy that I'm buying if I'm totally rebuilding and I don't need it for this year, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to buy Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell is as cheap as it's going to get. I think in your rookie draft, you're going to be able to buy him for any third, because someone's going to have rookie fever and just be like, yeah, I want to get in this. And you just say, give me Tank Dell. And I think you're going to get that. What about you?
I'm going to go with one young and one vet guy. The vet guy is going to be Calvin Ridley. I think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is probably going to be a Titan. Calvin Ridley is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 there. I think he's going to have a good year, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns. He's going to be a strong high-end flex or a wide receiver 3 for you that you can get for probably less than a second right now. And then Marvin Mims. He had a really good end-of-the-year stretch, good in the playoffs as well with Bo Nix there. And I think they do bring in a guy. They're going to bring in a Emeka Egbuka, Colson Loveland, a Tyler Warren, one of these type of Luther Burden players. But he's going to be that second, that third guy there that is going to give you spike weeks, and it's going to be a guy that could emerge into the team's wide receiver 2, with Sutton being on the way out. So kind of 2 guys in there that I like. Even Cedric Tillman's another cheap guy that could land a quarterback. He could emerge as kind of that guy with Jeudy. So, yeah, just deep landscape. But now it's time to buy some of the cheaper guys and take profits when can.
I love it. Hit them buys at the right time, and you're going to pay off big dividends. So thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process. Yeah, I was like,